Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is
Twisted and Uncorked. Hello and welcome. It's an episode of Twisted and Uncorked. This is episode 46. It is a Sierra-centric episode. Woo,
That
woo.
spice I was talking about is called star anise. Or star aniseed.
You'll learn
I
something.
knew it was
new every
something
day.
about a star spice.
Does it shape like a star?
Yes.
Oh. Sometimes
It
humans
is.
are so unoriginal. It's like they come up with
Right?
very cool names for things, like rosemary. Like, why did it get called rosemary? And then star spice.
Right. Nothing fun. Sorry. I almost said patrons. This is not only Patreon. Sorry, listeners.
We love all of you.
We were just talking about a simmer pot that I made to regain my smell and taste and health, and other things that which is commonly put in simmer pots. And one of the recipes that I see the most is cranberry, oranges, rosemary, cinnamon, and I called it star spice, but I guess it's called, what did I just say?
Star
'Cause I
anise.
closed it. Star anise, there we go. And then you put your intentions on a bay leaf and you throw that in the simmer pot as well, and you let it simmer and boil for a while.
That's very
And your house
cute.
smells amazing.
How do you write on a bay leaf? Is that like a dried bay leaf?
Yes.
Okay. I think I could do that. Or it would crush underneath my hand.
They're really
Strong.
stiff. Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of Italian recipes have bay leaves in them, so we always have a whole thing of
I
bay
just
leaves.
toss a few, but I've never tried to actually write on them. So I was like,
Yeah.
are they
Well, I've-
crumbly like most dry
Right.
spices?
No, I've stuck some in our spaghetti and stuff, and even when you put them in spaghetti and mix it around, it's always whole by the time we eat it.
Yeah.
Or eat the
okay.
spaghetti. So
I
it
put them in
doesn't
soup
crunch when I
broth.
mix it.
But yeah, that sounds tasty. And it smells. Oh my god. It sounds like it would make your house smell really good. I'm going to have to try this.
Yeah.
I still have a
Unfortunately, I
couple of
couldn't smell when I made
cranberries,
it, so.
despite all of our cranberry recipes. A couple. This bag
So
was
many
huge.
cranberry recipes.
And I would just like to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Haunted Housewives podcast, who after we told them about me biting into a cranberry, they both made videos of them biting into
I
cranberries.
can't believe they did that.
It was so funny. And if anybody is brave enough to do it, please tag us in that video or send it our way, because it's kind of funny to watch people's reactions. My reaction was that cranberries aren't real fruit. So
I don't think they're supposed to be eaten that way.
no, they're like, oh, it was funny. So yes, if you're brave enough to do that, send us your videos. Check them out because they're great, and get all your cranberries. Or if you can't find cranberries, you can do what Sierra did on our first episode and get a whole can of cranberry sauce and just fish them out.
Yeah, they're way better that way. So much better. They're really little teeny tiny pieces, I think you're supposed to boil them before you eat them or something. I don't think,
think
you're
you're
supposed to
correct.
just eat them raw.
You're correct, because them raw
Yeah.
is makes my face hurt just thinking about it again. I'm
Yeah,
just going to
it's
enjoy them
weird.
in our beautiful sangria. But before we get to our sangria, do you have a fun fact for me?
I do, even though my simmer pot was kind of sort of another fun
It was.
thing.
I know.
I do
I know
have
it was.
a really good fun fact that I wanted to use, so I'm still going to tell you this other one. On August 23rd, 2019, a small child, I don't know if it's a he or a she, named... Okay, she. I further read. All right. A small child named probably Beth Ann visited Pool Museum After talking with her mom about what museums do, Beth Ann decided she wanted to donate her most precious rock to the museum. She asked that they put it behind glass and look after it so everyone could see and enjoy it. And now Beth Ann's rock has its own exhibit.
That is so precious, and I love it so much.
So cute.
That is so cute. What kind of rock is it? Does it say?
No, it doesn't look like a special rock at all. It just looks like a little, honestly, a little piece of shit, but it's her most prized rock, okay?
I love that
important
they
to
did
her.
that. That's so cute.
That's exactly what a museum should be. Share all of the
Treasures.
yeah,
Everybody's
let
treasures.
everybody enjoy them.
Oh, that's so wholesome. I love it. Or you can be like us and put all your stuff into a little mini witch's altar. Enjoy it however you see fit. I love that your kids are into crystals and rocks and stuff too, just like you are. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I imagine your son doing something like that and having it in the museum. That's what it made me think of. It's like, this is the most special one. Please take care of it.
Right.
Oh, I love that. My fun fact is fun but also disturbing in typical Alicia fashion. Specifically, it's about coral reefs. So,
Okay.
the tiny polyps that make up coral spawn by releasing eggs and sperm into the water. An entire reef typically releases all at once over 20 minutes, and it's usually under a full moon, and that is how the reef is created.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
I did not realize that a reef, at least from this description, seems more animal-like than plant-like. I thought it was more plant-like.
Than animal-like, I know.
That's
But they're little
insane.
polyps. And the idea of sperm just free floating in the water and how do they find each other? I guess, I don't know. Science is cool. But 20 minutes, that is so cool. And I love that it's usually under a full moon.
Yes, definitely. Everybody's getting crazy under the full moon.
Everything's lining up. Yeah, really cool. So yeah. Let's talk about this delicious sangria that we kind of already have been bragging
so
about.
delicious. Let's see if we can get a little image
Sierra's
of it
rim
here.
is so cute. I did not rim mine because I made it yesterday.
I love to rim all of my drinks. Beautiful.
Yeah, she's a better
so
bartender than I am. I'm like, let me just drink it.
it is the same Martini and Rossi Rosé sparkling that we had from last week. And with it, I put in just a little bit of cranberry pomegranate juice. And then frozen cranberries, rosemary garnish, and the rim is lime with red and white sprinkles. And that's it.
That's
Super
cool.
simple drink.
Yeah, very simple. I kept double taking it. I was like, is that it? That's literally it.
Right,
but
me
it's so
too.
good.
That's it.
And I made mine yesterday because we were supposed to record yesterday, but shit got crazy in both halves of our world here. So I had a crazy power outage that lasted until 3:30 this morning.
Goodness.
And Sierra had some tornadoes roll through Tennessee.
Yep.
Crazy. So it was not in the cards for us to record yesterday. So mine's been soaking for a while, and it's delicious.
Yeah, you can have it either way. You can have the cranberries soaking in it, or if you're going to pour it fresh like I did, freeze the cranberries and set them on top, and it'll help keep your drink cold.
Yes, they were frozen when I first made it.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. But, yeah, it is a very, very wintry, comforting drink. It's very tasty.
Yeah, it would be perfect for like a Christmas, ugly sweater
Party.
costume party. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does. But again, I told you guys last week, and it's still same. I can barely taste this wine. So I can taste the cranberry juice pretty good. but I can a little tiny bit taste the rosemary aroma, but mostly I just taste cranberry juice.
But yes, Sierra has her special
ready?
topic for us. Again, this is unique weapons or strange weapons and crimes. Thank you, Clinton, for your suggestion. And yes, I am ready.
Continuing on with one more variation of strange murder weapons, I wanted this topic to be fun or funny. So I set out, kind of like yours. Yours was kind of silly, goofy.
Yeah.
I set out trying to find a story with at least a little bit of a happy ending. Even if it couldn't be fun or funny. It's still a murder weapon, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought that when I found this case, it was going to be a happy ending. Until I kept researching and found that this case is actually super controversial.
Oh.
And now I am in a pickle because I don't know if this is a happy ending story or the exact opposite. It is a jarring case. But there are two main points that I want to make.
You are being so punny if it's the weapon that I think it is, and I love you so much for it.
I was like, I want to put these puns in, but no one's going to know what I'm talking
I
about.
love
until I
it.
Get to it.
I love it. No, keep going. I'm like, I think I know what this is, but this is amazing.
There are two main points that I want to make by the end that I think make the case important to tell either way. So, let's get into it. In April of 2010, 16-year-old Daniel Kovarbasich was found guilty at trial of voluntary manslaughter and felonious assault after killing 55-year-old family friend and neighbor Dwayne Hurley by bludgeoning him to death with a pickle jar to the back of the head and then stabbing him with a knife 53 times in his own home on January 22nd of that same year. So, for reference, voluntary manslaughter is very similar to, and in some states identical to, second-degree murder, in the sense that it is not accidental, like involuntary manslaughter
Like
or
you
third
accidentally
degree.
hit somebody with your car and they
Right.
died because of it. Okay.
But it's also not premeditated, like first degree. It's kind of like snapped or crime of sudden passion or fit of rage or blackout situation.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, now we're going to rewind and figure out what the hell just happened. So Daniel Kovarbasich was just 12 years old when he first met 52-year-old Dwayne Hurley. Daniel lived with his mom, dad, and brother in North Ridgeville, Ohio, where Dwayne was their neighbor 2 houses down. The first time Daniel and Dwayne met was outside of Daniel's school. Daniel was leaving school and Dwayne was walking his dog. 12-year-old Daniel noticed the dog, and Dwayne offered for Daniel to pet him.
Okay, I was like, I already don't like this, but that seems innocent.
Right. A few days later, Dwayne and Daniel noticed each other again when Daniel realized that that little puppy lived so close to him. Dwayne brought the dog over to Daniel outside and asked if Daniel wanted to puppy sit the dog for a bit. Daniel agreed. What 12-year-old kid doesn't want to hang out with a sweet puppy and get paid to do it?
Right. I was going to say this is definitely how I get into trouble as a child. Somebody has a pet, I'm in.
Right. My kids are always like, oh, can I pet your dog? I'm like, why are you talking to strangers?
I don't know. Something about a
But also
stranger
good
with
for you
a
for
pet.
asking.
Absolutely. Yes, that's good manners. But something about a stranger with a pet is already kind of disarming because that person takes care of this pet.
Right. After only about 10 minutes of being gone, Dwayne returned to pick up his pup and paid Daniel $30 for his services. Dwayne also offered for Daniel to ask his parents about coming over to the house for other odd jobs if he wanted to make some more money sometime. At first, Daniel's parents were a bit concerned.
Mm-hmm.
This random old guy invited their son over to his house. It's 2007 at this time, so that's creepy.
Yeah.
But they looked up Dwayne's name on the sex offender list and in public records, and nothing alarming came up, so they thought maybe he was just being neighborly.
Okay.
They allowed Daniel to go to Dwayne's house and complete some odd jobs so that he could learn to work for his money, but they went with him because they didn't know their neighbor well enough to let their son go into a stranger's house alone. So,
Wow.
all good things.
Very
Everything's going
diligent
great.
parents, though. That's
Yes.
impressive.
Daniel and his brother both did little odd jobs for Dwayne after a while, and their parents were over there so often with the kids that they all became good friends. Sometimes, when Dwayne overheard Daniel's parents talking about running out of certain groceries or household items, Dwayne would go out and buy the items for the family. The neighbor quickly became a family friend, and in becoming so close with such a trusted friend, he became a huge help to Daniel's parents when they didn't feel the need to hover anymore. He would keep an eye on the boys for them. He'd have all their friends over at his house for a get-together, and he'd take them to school for the parents sometimes. Everything seemed great, but behind closed doors, things were a little awkward at times. Both boys later recall times when Dwayne would ask them, "How many different ways can you say the word penis?" In a way, this seemed like old man talk to them, like, "What slang do you have for penis nowadays?" They're
okay.
all men and boys. They can talk silly about that kind of stuff.
Bathroom humor, yeah.
Yeah. They also noticed Dwayne peed with the bathroom door open. But it was his house, and, they're all boys. But then he started opening the bathroom door when the boys were peeing too, or at least Daniel. And he'd start finding ways to bring up Daniel's penis in conversation. And then he'd ask to see it.
Oh, no.
And then he'd ask to touch it.
Okay.
Just
Absolutely
kind of gross,
not.
kind of fast.
Yeah.
Daniel trusted Dwayne like he was family. He considered him even closer than his own grandfather, and part of him thought maybe this was normal. And the part of him that knew it wasn't was too embarrassed to say anything. Besides, Dwayne was so nice and supportive and gave Daniel literally anything he wanted. Who cares if he was a little weird or a little creepy? Dwayne literally let all Daniel's friends come over to his house and play video games and eat junk food. He let Daniel, who was too young to be doing so, drive around his super nice Corvette for practice. He paid Daniel way more money than was warranted for the odd jobs he was doing, like who pays someone $30 for 10 minutes of dog watching.
Yeah.
But every time there was something bigger and better for Daniel to do, Dwayne would remind Daniel of his caveat by saying, "Bigger toys, bigger things," escalating the harassment and assault ever so slightly. Bigger things, meaning bigger things that Daniel had to let Dwayne do.
Oh, no. And this is like such a confusing age for Daniel, too. It's like,
Yes,
this is
for
his
sure.
surrogate grandfather figure.
Right.
He has a really good, it's very, a lot of grooming.
Yes, the whole thing is grooming. The sexual harassment and assault of Daniel was happening for about a year before Daniel felt that he couldn't take it anymore. He says that he was sleeping on his stomach on Dwayne's couch one day, or at least pretending to, when he felt Dwayne get up close behind him and pull his pants down. He said Dwayne penetrated him just a little before walking away. And he just laid there, pretending to sleep, not letting even Dwayne know that he knew what happened, because it would be awkward to bring up. He tried to just play it cool and be normal. But he couldn't be normal. For 2 weeks after the rape, Daniel's embarrassment and anger festered inside him while he tried to pretend that nothing was wrong on the outside. On January 22nd, 2010, Daniel's parents dropped Daniel off at Dwayne's house early in the morning so the two of them could head to work. Dwayne was going to drive Daniel to school that day. Daniel and Dwayne were talking about normal things that morning, like the fact that Daniel and his girlfriend's anniversary was coming up.
Aww.
Daniel had ideas planned for his girlfriend. He was going to buy a bunch of roses and use them to spell out "I love you" in the snow.
Oh my God.
And he was going to take her out to a fancy restaurant.
My heart.
I know.
That's
But these were only
the cutest
ideas
thing ever.
at this point, because he needed to work and get some money to actually make it happen. So that's kind of why he was bringing it up to Dwayne. Dwayne probably had a bit of a feeling that this is where the conversation was going, and he asked Daniel, how much is all of this going to cost? And Daniel replied, about $80.
Oh.
That's when Dwayne implied to Daniel that he was going to need to do even more than before. Daniel realized that Dwayne was suggesting he needed to have sex with him.
Oh my God.
And not just pretend you're asleep rape. He wanted Daniel to participate. That's when Daniel says he snapped. He had the pickle jar from the kitchen, and he was standing behind Dwayne. He smashed it over Dwayne's head 3 times, so hard it caused brain hemorrhaging, and it was enough alone to kill him. But in his continued rage, Daniel also grabbed a knife from the kitchen and stabbed Dwayne 53 times, including stabs to the heart, liver, both kidneys, and intestines.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
like
he
big
felt
time
some kind of way.
overkill.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like big time. So I'm just going to let you all sit on that information for a quick minute while we take an ad break. If you prefer not to listen to the ads, you can get ad-free episodes by heading over to patreon.com/twistedanduncorked and donating just $1 for a month's worth of ad-free episodes and extra bonus content. We will be right back. Welcome back. Let me finish up this story. Before the break, unfortunately, Daniel had just killed Dwayne with a pickle jar and a knife. After killing Dwayne, Daniel called his dad in hysterics and told him to come get him right away. When his dad got there, Daniel was standing outside in the front yard, covered in blood.
Oh no, that's
and
sight.
his dad rushed him to the hospital because he thought maybe he was the one that was hurt, and he called the police. Daniel was completely out of it. He didn't say anything for a while, but both murder weapons, the pickle jar and the kitchen knife, were lying next to Dwayne's body when the police arrived. And when Daniel went to trial for the murder of Dwayne, he was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and felonious assault, but he was only sentenced to 5 months of probation and psychiatric treatment.
Is that
He
because of
became
his
known-
age?
Nope,
Oh, okay.
because of the situation.
Okay.
He was tried as an adult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He became known as the boy who killed his molester and was identified basically as a hero in the community of abused children. He was interviewed on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and a group called Human Rights for Kids in Nevada used his case as an example in support of a bill being introduced that would basically go easier on kids who attacked their abusers.
Mm-hmm.
For this reason, and when the story is told this way, it seems like a happy ending, right? Kids who are groomed and abused should be given lesser sentences, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like a type of self-defense.
Agreed.
I mean, it's not specifically during an attack, but at the same time, when he's being groomed, his whole life probably feels like an attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to tell the story this way first, because I never want a victim to feel that their story won't be believed.
Mm-hmm.
This was Daniel's story, and Daniel was a victim. But here's where the case gets a little controversial. Dwayne is now dead, and so he's also a victim. And as a victim, he has the right to voice his side of the story. He's not alive, though, to voice that, so others are voicing his side of the story for him. Dwayne's niece specifically was pretty vocal about her thoughts on the case. She did not believe that her uncle was a child molester. he had never been in trouble for anything of the sort in the past. She also claimed that her Uncle Dwayne didn't have any money, so all the stories of paying Daniel money for acts and services were probably a lie, in her opinion.
Oh.
During the investigation into Dwayne's death, there was pornography found on his computer, but reports are mixed on whether it was child pornography or gay pornography or male child with male adult pornography. Nobody really knows. Dwayne's niece says that if anything of the sort was found on the computer, it's because Daniel put it there. She says that she had talked to her uncle just a few weeks before he was murdered, and her Uncle Dwayne told her that he had to kick Daniel out of his house recently for messing around on his computer. After the trial and all the information came out, she took this to mean that Daniel was looking at porn on Dwayne's computer, and it made Dwayne mad. It wasn't Dwayne's computer activity, it was Daniel's.
Mm-hmm.
In Dwayne's niece's opinion, Daniel was just a bad kid that was destined for prison. She claims that at least one of his former school teachers said that he assumed Daniel would kill someone someday.
Oh my God.
So this honestly seems ridiculously inappropriate to say about a child who was the victim of grooming and sexual harassment and assault. But then again, there are a few things that have happened since his arrest that make Dwayne's niece seem a little less mean, I guess. For instance, while Daniel was in prison awaiting release, he and his cellmate were charged with threatening to stab a prison guard.
Oh.
His cellmate was also caught with a handmade shank in their cell shortly after, and Daniel admitted that he also had made a homemade shank, but he destroyed it shortly after because he knew they were going to check the cell. After Daniel's sentencing, which was just 5 years of probation while getting treatment from a psychiatric facility, Daniel was made to wait in prison while a treatment facility was being located for him. Unfortunately, multiple treatment facilities in the area refused to accept Daniel as a patient because of the severity and brutalness of his crime. After 37 days in prison, the judge allowed Daniel to return home on house arrest with a curfew and 5 years of probation, just without the treatment plan since they couldn't find a facility for him. The judge warned Daniel before he was sent home that a violation of his probation could result in a 10-year prison sentence.
Whoa.
However, just a little while after being back home, Daniel did violate his probation.
Oh no.
He was out and about away from his home from 12:28 a.m. till 12:58 a.m. for no explainable reason. Daniel was summoned back to court for this, and the charge given to Daniel for his violation was 30 days in prison, but the judge allowed for time served since he was already in prison for 37 days in the past.
Oh, so he's exceeded
So he got
it.
nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, the judge decides to allow for the ankle monitor to be taken off of Daniel, even though the curfew is still in place. So now he has a curfew, but there's no way to even tell if he's breaking it or not. So he kind of can't get in trouble.
And even if his parents are like, oh, he's following his curfew, he can still sneak out or do
Right.
whatever. Ugh.
At this point in my research, I'm starting to feel weird because I'm glad that a victim of child abuse and sexual assault is getting lenience for their behavioral problems that could have stemmed from being angry and confused about being groomed.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm wondering why this kid is getting off so easily when many, many others in the same situations, or even less severe ones, aren't.
Yeah.
I can see why Dwayne's niece might think that this is some sort of conspiracy against her uncle. It's just so strange to see it go this way.
Yeah.
When the judge who sentenced Daniel was questioned about the leniency he gave, he answered by saying basically that there is nothing he can do to change the past, but his decision will hopefully help mold the future. He said he believed that if Daniel were to stay in prison at such a young age, then when he got out, he probably wouldn't have amounted to much more than a criminal, being raised all around them. The incident with threatening the guard, for instance, was probably something Daniel did because he felt that to survive in prison, he had to prove that he was a badass and a cool guy to the other criminals there. The judge also suggested that by letting Daniel out to tell his story on Oprah, for example, maybe less people, even though they are predators, would have to die in the future. This happened in 2010, and a lot of men and boys would rather hide in their embarrassment than tell on their abuser. Even now, especially then.
I was going to say all ages and
Yeah.
sexes. People don't feel like they can come forward.
Right. The judge believed that the embarrassment they carry would likely cause them to snap one day too. But if they were able to see that no one was ridiculing Daniel for what he had experienced, and that he was believed and taken serious in court, then maybe it would encourage others to speak up about their abusers before they got to that point of rage and murder. So this is where my two main points come in. I completely get why the judge would feel this way about this case. And I actually feel this way about this case too. So main point number 1 is that child criminals who are also victims of crime should be treated with a little leniency so that we can rehabilitate them. I am glad that Daniel was able to be used to set an example in a good way for victims' rights. But
maybe more people would be comfortable coming forward.
Right. But at the same time, Daniel is a white man. And there have been too many women and people of color who haven't been given the same leniency.
I was waiting
I'm not
for you
saying,
to say that. Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying that Daniel doesn't deserve to have been treated so kindly. I'm just saying that if we're going to be kind and lenient on some victims, then we should also act this way towards others. So point number 2 is that there needs to be some sort of consistency in things like this, because this just makes the justice system look racist as fuck.
More than it already is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This shows.
Yeah. Because maybe you're going to talk about it, but there was that one girl who killed her rapist and she's serving life in prison, right?
Yes, that is, it was a black girl. I can't remember her name, but her name kept popping up every time I researched him. I did not add her to the notes. Just because, again, I was trying to make this a light story.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It did not work.
But it touches on issues that are good to talk about, so I get what you mean
Yes, definitely.
now. We'll post her description and her photo and age and everything, too, with our episode blog for this.
Definitely.
And I'm glad that Daniel's parents believed him, because some cases...
Right, definitely.
And differently with parents being like, no, there's no way that could have happened. And I hope that his parents don't blame themselves, because they did do everything that they could to make sure that Dwayne was a good man and a good fit. And you said that they visited with him for over a year before Daniel was ever alone.
Yeah,
so...
Basically, it was really sad because the mom and dad did an interview too, and they said that even they felt groomed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
100%.
By Dwayne offering to give them the groceries that they were missing and all of these things, and like
showing them how quote unquote
and...
nice he was,
right,
and trustworthy. Ugh.
Yeah, even
icky.
they felt groomed. Yeah, it's hard because on one hand, it's like, of course I believe Daniel. Who the hell would pay someone $30 for 10 minutes of dog sitting if they weren't grooming them?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm like, how come he is getting away with, I mean, literal murder, or at least manslaughter?
Yeah.
And so many others are not. It's sad.
Yeah, that is sad, because Daniel is going to grow up to be a white man, which is the top of the privilege.
Right.
So it shouldn't be that way. It should be equal across the board. And kids should feel that they can come forward and tell their stories. And I'm hoping that when the judge said, I hope I'm paving the way, that was part of his, knowledge behind it. Like, he recognized that this isn't what some kids get.
Right.
I hope so, at least.
I mean, I hope so too. It was, honestly, it was during a time that I feel that this movement of point out your abuser was happening, because on this Oprah show, this specific episode that they wanted him on, he was actually in prison at the time this episode was being filmed, and he requested from the judge, can I come out of prison on this day because Oprah wants me on her show? And the judge looked up what the episode was going to be about, and he said yes.
Was
He
it
said,
the
yes,
Me
I will
Too
give you a
movement,
pass.
or was this before
No,
that?
it was before that. It was specifically about men who are abused and nobody talks about it. And he was on, as well as another boy who was on the episode because he had been abused. And then I think it was, I didn't watch the episode, but I saw a bunch of little takes from it. A bunch of grown men were like, I was abused too. Like, this happened to me and I never talked about it. Like, I'm so glad that you're talking about it now. So,
And there's
yeah,
a certain
it
stigma
happens.
behind same-sex abuse, too. Because
Right.
if that person, when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, you kind of know what your sexuality is to a certain extent. And, there's that, oh, well, somebody's going to think I'm gay, or somebody's going
Right.
to, and that's horrible too, because that should all be accepted, whether or not that person is gay.
Right. And I think the more we move on from, the later we get in years, the more acceptable everything is becoming.
Yeah.
As far as men being unafraid to name their abusers, and men being unafraid to admit that they're gay, or women being unafraid to admit that they're lesbian, or men or women or non-binary people not being afraid to admit those things.
Yeah.
All of those things are progressing.
We're evolving.
But
yeah.
the thing that isn't progressing is racism in the justice system. And so that's what kills me about this case. Like, I'm so glad a victim was taken care of and used to set a good example, but also there are so many others that nobody is paying attention to.
Yeah, that's an insane case, though.
I know.
I'm glad you covered it, both from a strange weapons perspective, and, that it is comical as a pickle jar murder can be. It raises some
Right.
more controversial points.
Yeah, definitely. I found it and I was like, oh, pickle jar, this is going to be funny. And then I read it and I was like, okay, it's not going to be funny. It's going to be serious, but it's going to be a really good topic because there's a happy ending. The person died. It was a bad guy. And then I kept reading it and I was like, oh my God, some people don't think he was a bad guy. What the fuck is happening?
I mean,
this is not okay.
There could be the argument that maybe Dwayne grew up in a time where it wasn't okay to be gay, and, he's dealing with his own confusing feelings, but it never, ever, ever, ever makes it okay to take advantage of a child, whether it's for monetary value or not.
And I never, ever, ever, ever want to say that a child is lying.
No.
But I will 100% say, Dwayne's niece said that child is lying. He said,
I was going to ask you how old roughly she was, because
she's anonymous. I don't know. She hasn't even said her name. But she did say that she has had so many people tell her that she's delusional and just doesn't want to see the bad in her family, and she does not see it that way. She does not think he was doing anything wrong. But I'm like,
but he might have really not ever posed as a threat to her.
Right.
So,
and do you really think that a mom, dad, brother, and brother are all gonna have the same story about him paying all of this stuff? Like, that is grooming.
100%.
Sorry, that's what that is.
And if it would be different if they didn't do their due diligence and it was maybe a he said situation.
Right.
But it's not. Like, they were 100% taken advantage of as well. I also hope, like you said, that it shows kids that that's not their only way out, that they can come forward and talk about it and get help in a different way, and they don't feel like that's the only way that they're going to get out of this situation.
Exactly. Like, as much as I don't blame Daniel for killing Dwayne, I also feel like there are better ways to go about it and not have to kill someone. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that was extremely traumatic for Daniel, too.
Oh,
I
of
don't want anyone
course.
to ever feel like they have to kill someone.
No.
It's
I agree.
sad and awful.
Yeah. And honestly, those people should serve their time for doing horrific things to children. This makes
What
me
a
mad.
mess.
It is jarring. You are correct.
It is jarring, and I was in a pickle.
Well, I'm glad you covered it.
I'm glad to. Thank you.
Wow.
Maybe we'll cover the other ones sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Playing with Mothman.
We might not. You put him in his little wings.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of a Pokemon.
I know,
Like
that's
the
what my kids
cartoonism.
said.
Yeah, he looks like a moth.
When I
a
first opened, they were like,
cryptid Pokemon.
is it a Pokemon? And I was like, no. And they were like, it's a bat. And I was like, it's Mothman. Stop it.
It's Mommy's toy.
Yeah.
Everybody will see Mothman hanging out behind Sierra for our episodes if you check those
I
out
don't
on
know.
YouTube.
I'm
You might
always,
just
like,
need to
holding
cuddle him.
Yeah. It's so soft.
Jesse's like, what the fuck is that?
I know.
It's kind of like my elephant that my husband got us on our honeymoon. I snuggle that all the time. Like, it's like, I don't give a shit that I'm a full-grown adult. It's soft and it's comforting.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes it's needed. Glad you like him, though. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you want or know of any cases related to what we were talking about, racially speaking, please send them our way because we'd like to highlight those and share those so that they are in reference to this case, and hopefully that maybe somebody will see it that will, I don't know. I've found that the internet and, doing this podcast has helped shown the power of the internet and people's voices. So hopefully it can produce change, if not now, but for future generations. So let us know, and let us know your thoughts on this in general. We assume that you guys will all think the same thing we do, but it's good to talk about, and we love you, and thank you so much for listening. If you would like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, you can do that everywhere. It's the best way to spread the word. We also have a website that you can check out everything on. Our sources for today's episode. You can listen there. Oh, we didn't rate our sangria.
Oh, yeah, let's rate it. What do you think?
I know,
mine's
it's hard
finished.
for you, because...
And I licked the entire... It was so much better when I was licking the rim and drinking it. Like, that sweet, sour mix with the tart. It was amazing. It was really good. Like, again, I couldn't taste the wine very much, but just the cranberry alone. So if you are sober, you're not drinking alcohol, and you're making this, you're gonna freaking love it. It's so good.
All you have to do is take out the wine.
Yeah.
Add some soda water, or tonic
Something
water if you want a
sparkly,
little bit
bubbly.
sugary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So
I would say it's an 8.5, 9.
yeah, definitely 8.5.
I like it. Simple
For
and
sure.
sweet. But
Today, everyone,
I didn't even have to ask you.
is December 21st, and it is Yule. Yay!
Yay!
The pagan holiday of Christmas. Yule is today. It is the winter solstice. Today is the shortest day of the year. The sun will go down so fast, but that means starting tomorrow, the sun will start to stay out a little later, and things will start to get back to normal. I feel that when the sun goes away so fast, it's super depressing.
I agree. Especially
I
if you
literally-
work a certain
Yeah.
shift. You're going to
I-
work in the dark and coming home in the dark.
I work from home, but I take my kids to school in the dark and pick them up from school in the dark. Like, I feel bad for them. Like, I don't let them stay outside past the time that the streetlights come on. And the streetlights come on as soon as the sun goes down. And it's like, as soon as they get home.
like
and
4
it feels
o'clock.
so bad. Yeah, it's awful. So, happy Yule. I hope you write all of your best wishes on bay leaves or paper or whatever you want to write them on, and burn them in a candle in the fire, wherever you want to burn them, and all of your wishes come true.
And if you want to know more about this, you can check out Sierra's first episode of Witches Wanted on our Patreon. She touches on Yule a little bit at the end, and it is a really good, really informative episode, so
yeah,
check it out.
And it might just be my Christmas/Yule spirit talking, but after recording that episode and listening to Alicia's personal episode of a tale to tell, gosh, it's a tongue twister, I'm thinking we just leave them at the $5 tier forever. Let the fivers listen. Join at the $5, y'all can listen.
Or like it. That's our Christmas gift to you.
Yeah.
But lots of fun. So definitely check out all of the bonus content we have there. Check out our website. Follow us on social media. Write your intentions on your bay leaves or pieces of paper. Like Sierra suggested in our episode, you don't need to have a fireplace to do it. You can just burn it in a safe little environment and use your Yule log to have as decoration. Not all of us have that, but it is a really cool tradition, and as we've gotten more into spirituality, it's kind of nice to just make a little wish for the holiday season. Something a little less commercial and more about you. So,
And all made with nature.
Oh,
Use real wood. Use real
You can
plants.
use all of the garnishes from today's sangria to decorate your Yule log with.
That's exactly right.
We love you guys lots. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next Tuesday for a new episode. And in the meantime, keep it twisted.